Back to another SAM.gov Bids Live, where we walk through small business solicitations together on SAM and answer your questions along the way. Today, I do have 4 small business solicitations pulled up that we will be jumping into in just a second. But if you are new here and you don't want to miss future SAM.gov Bids episodes, consider subscribing to the channel if you're here watching, and even click the notification bell if you want so that you can ask your questions live on future streams if you're catching this even on a replay. And if you do happen to be someone who's recently registered in SAM, you're in this, you're doing this, and you're looking to get started bidding, check out my website, GovKidMethod.com, for free and paid resources that I custom designed for new federal contractors just like you guys. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at the solicitations we're going to be looking at today. All right, so number 1, we have a SAP, security role admin, senior level consultant. All right, so we're thinking staffing, we're thinking warm body or warm bodies for this. Next, we'll be looking at audiovisual. So CAT audiovisual system equipment and installation, and maybe they'll have some maintenance and troubleshooting. I've done a little bit of audio video work myself. So we'll see what they're asking for. Over at Scott Air Force Base, I did some work. Then after that, Dixie, NF Supervisor's Office Janitorial. So janitorial for Supervisor's Office. Should be interesting. And then lastly, Courier Services. Courier, you're thinking, kind of thinking like mailman or some sort of base ops type transport. We'll see. But that is in Eastern Colorado healthcare system. All right, guys, and if you are new here, what we do, the way we treat, because these are live in real time, if you're catching us live, we do answer questions in between solicitations, in between the bids. And then after that, we move on to keep the train rolling. We go for about an hour. And just so you know, I don't look at any of these ahead of time. Basically, I just pull off like what looks good from my searches, 4 or 5 of them. That way you can kind of get the real angles, the real effect, the real thoughts, not some edited, polished, predetermined thing. We go through it live so that you kind of, again, get the problems, the challenges, the barriers, because we do find these when we look at the bids. Sometimes contracting makes mistakes, right? So the goal is not to bring you something perfect or something pretty. Is to give you the real deal, because that's what you're going to be going through when you go through SAM, and you're going to be looking at bids that are a close match for your business. You're going to be stumped. You're going to get hit with stuff that doesn't make sense as well. So it's my goal to give you some training during these to empower you and give you some tools and to give you some confidence to treat these situations when you do run across them. Before we get started, we have Freddie Games. My name is Angelica. Thank you for your videos. Well, then, Angelica, thanks for hanging out with us, because I know you're a returning community member, and we definitely value being here. I did not know your name was Angelica until today, so I will try to remember that. Wanda Spellman, thank you for what you do, 100%. Thanks for hanging out with us. We appreciate you. So let's go ahead and dive into our first solicitation. And this is going to be more like IT staffing. Okay, so SAP, security role admin. This is Department of Justice for the federal prison industry. This is due September 23rd, so you got a couple weeks. Small business set aside, 541512 NAICS code. So anybody who's in IT, okay, there's like 541, 511, 512, 513, 519. Okay, these are going to be core NAICS codes for you in IT. The POP, place of performance, is going to be DC. They're giving us a little bit in the listing description here, so we will take a minute before getting to our attachments, okay? So the scope of work for this contract is to provide senior level consulting in SAP. The contractor will provide project management and administration expertise in this area. The contractor will configure roles and authorizations for SAP systems. The contractor will also assist and advise the prison industry, essentially what it looks like to configure all of the SAP ERP systems. Okay, so this is senior level consulting. That's why it is advising. What else we got? This is a task order. And they're getting into specific areas like production planning, sales and distribution, material management, payroll. Okay, so this is really job specific. This is really, more statement of work like they're saying. Lastly, okay, so it's all kind of statement of work stuff. So we'll go ahead and take a look at our attachments here. So we have a past performance questionnaire, okay, which you would probably have to complete or have filled out on behalf of your company, a PPQ. We will look at that. ACH vendor enrollment form, so possibly for payment, we'll see. And then what appears to be the solicitation document. In contracting, we have Beatrice Luck and Kimberly Schwinn. So let's go ahead and look at our solicitation doc, or at least what appears to be first. And wow, with the colors on this SF 1449 form, I have never seen something like this with these colors and shading. Okay. Looks like they're giving us some interesting terms. They're saying work may be performed on a telework basis, or it may also be performed in Washington, D.C. They're saying this is a base plus 2. So base plus 2. And it is task order. So we're saying the guaranteed minimum for the life of the contract is $12,000 and the max is $1.3 million. That would be over 3 years, base plus 2. Questions are due. This is really weird formatting. It's good for you to get experience though. September 13th, tomorrow, questions are due. They're going to want you to fill this out for your company. Really weird form. So these are going to be the pricing cleanse. If you're used to seeing pricing cleanse, you can see how different this looks, but they're going to want you to put in the unit and the total. And it's just one number for the base, one number for the option year 1, and one number for option year 2. So just one number. So here's a bit of the skill set they're looking for, some more scope. Very ugly formatting. Wow. And then they're hitting a travel CLIN. Wow. This is so weird. Because it appeared that the pricing CLIN was over, like section B, right? But then they copied and pasted inside the pricing CLIN some of the statement of work stuff. And then it picks back up with CLIN 002 for travel. And then 003 for the same year, which is a little confusing. And then option year 1, option year 2 again. Statement of work. Okay, so the person who's doing this is probably not overly experienced in contracting. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that, because it looks like they're breaking this up by option years, but then they're repeating themselves. Kind of just a mess. They said any questions submitted will result in amendment. It appears that everything that needed to be filled out was complete here, because they're saying SAP for the base year, SAP for the option year 1, SAP for option year 2. So all years. Okay. And then down here, they want to do a travel CLIN, which, okay, I'll buy them that. But then they repeat themselves with another base year, option year 2. The only way that this makes sense to me is if it's more than one person. They're calling this SAP ERP senior level consultant. So let me see if there's a distinction being made there. Yeah, there is. So then this is a SAP security rule administration. So this is actually for more than one person. We are discovering. So admin and then senior. So 2 people. We were able to, wait, hold your horses. Is there another person? I don't think so, but there was I guess the second travel for that second person was what that was. All right. But we're only halfway through, so let's see. And then they're going to shove the the clauses in there. Going to make for a very ugly document. This is good, though. It's good that you guys are seeing this. You're being exposed to this. It will make you appreciate the documents that are straightforward. You got your reps and certs. Check the boxes. And I don't see anything in terms of instruction to offers or reps and certs. This could end up being a price only. Yeah, no, it's not. It's just because it's so ugly, we missed it. So here's instruction to offers. Can you see that? Zoom in a tiny bit more. Significant evaluation factors for this are the technical requirements, including resumes, and then price, they're saying. Technical requirement factor is weighted significantly more important than price. Okay, so it would not be LPTA then it would be best value. Down here, they are saying best value. So we're affirmed in that. Best value may be determined using trade-offs. Okay. So that the award may be made to other than the lowest price. So they're justifying this here. Also, all offers that fail to furnish your reps and certs or past performance information will reject. So we know it's not just price. We heard them say resumes. Again, technical requirement, resumes. But then we also gleaned from the attachments a PPQ, what we didn't look at yet. So we're knowing this is going to be technical, which is resumes, past performance, which is this form, and then price, which is those pricing claims. So this quickly is starting to come together for us. They're giving us a bit more information for key resumes. They're going to rate those from outstanding, good, acceptable, marginal, or unacceptable. And they're going to define what each of those mean. I'm not going to read each of those. Okay, so that's actually pretty helpful. And this is not a difficult response. So you're going to be proposing that senior level consultant as well as for ERP and then more of the admin role, which looked like as well. Let's take a glance at the PPQ. We pretty much figured this one out just in those last 2 minutes breakthrough we had there. This is past performance questionnaire. Okay, guys, when you're filling these out, it does not have to be a government contract. It can be subcontracting experience. You can also use your subs experience or key personnel or other predecessor companies. But what you'll do is you'll fill this out. It says offers, submit recent and relevant, the 2 R's that we always say. They're also saying here recent and relevant. Saying 1 reference per form, and they did not say how many of these. So if you have 1, you do 1. If you have 2 or 3, you do 2 or 3. They are also not dictating that this has to be filled out on your behalf by a customer. It does appear that you can fill this out by yourself and then submit it directly to contracting versus having a previous customer fill this out for you and then them submitting it directly to contracting, i.e. you typically don't get to fill out your own report card. In this case, we are not seeing any preclusion to doing that. Just want to check out this last attachment really quickly. Yeah, this is going to be your payment form. Okay, so not a big deal for the proposal piece of it. So guys, this was interesting. Actually not a bad one. Anybody who's in IT/staffing, you can do some resumes. You can do some past performance. If you can calculate pricing that makes sense on this, it will be best value. It's not going to be a race to the bottom on the pricing. Also fill out your reps and certs, fill out your SF 1449 here that is colored or covered in color, or at least one shaded color, and fill out these pricing claims as well as the travel, as well as this POC information for your company with the signature that they want. So actually not too bad. I was thrown off by the formatting on this, but we worked our way through it. We made it, we survived, and you were exposed to yet another variable that contracting officers are going to use so that you won't freak out if that happens to you. What's going on in the chat, everybody? Angelica, I'm from San Antonio, Texas. We have construction company. Awesome. Building and concrete. I love 2 things about that. Number 1, you're in construction. Number 2, you're in Texas. Because when you put those together, there's a lot of construction work in Texas. And there's a lot of construction jobs on SAM.gov as well. Mick Fort Hood, Kylene, Texas. They've got a lot of work if you're out that way at all. I've done some work there myself. And Freddie is your son. 100%, 100%. Hey, Ali, what's going on, man? Good to see you again as well. Been a while since we chatted, Ali. How's life? Are you winning contracts? What's going on? And don't forget, Ali, you're grandfathered into our coaching program, man. So just shoot me an email if you're wanting in. Ace. Yeah, never seen that color either. I don't think I've ever seen it. And it makes no sense to me also why they would do that. But yeah, what's going on, everybody? Thanks for hanging out with us today. Hope you're off to a great start of the week. Monday, September 12th here. Ace says, with staffing, can you talk about the payment schedule? Will the contracting officer ever pay biweekly, or is it typically net 30? Yeah, it's typically net 30. First payment is usually net 60, just because if you're new to, say, like WAF or the invoicing system, it's going to take a couple weeks to get set up and approved. So that could eat up some time. And then once you are set up, then you submit your invoice, and that is for net 30, and then you get paid. So you want to have a little bit of that cushion, for example, like you're saying with staffing, to float that. But once you get a few, warm bodies under your belt with staffing, you're billing out regularly, you'll have that cash flow to also absorb it. But you also want to make sure you have an accountant who's, not just focused on profit and revenue, but cash is king, right? So make sure you are paying attention to the cash flow and the timing of the cash flow so that you are able to pay your people. But yeah, biweekly, you don't ever really get to like renegotiate terms unless the contract up front is saying, like twice a month. Other than that, like I would just telling you, man, just plan on net 30. Kathy Fox, learning lots from you. So glad to hear that. Kathy, if you care to share, what is one thing that you have learned? That sort of feedback I always appreciate and is helpful to me. And in the meantime, let's bounce on over to our next live bid. So there's going to be audio video stuff. So audio visual system, this is going to be equipment and installation. Okay. For this, it's usually conference rooms, meeting rooms where they're updating, the cameras, the speakers, the cabling, the TVs, just the whole system. And the government's been kind of an ongoing thing going through this for updating this, because there's been a mandatory kind of industry upgrade, especially since, COVID. So it's going to be for Air Force. This is due the 23rd. So again, we got a couple weeks on this. Small business set aside. And just so you know, for this, unless you're self-performing this, you're probably reaching out to subs for something like this versus staffing. This is going to be project-based. Probably take a week or a day or a couple of days or a couple of weeks, depending on how big it is. But these are good because, it could be for, tens of thousands, in some instances, 6 figures. But it's not going to take a long time to do usually, unless you have like just a massive base-wide contract, which could be in the millions. But, the sub's going to be there, like I said, for a couple of days or a couple of weeks. They're going to do the job. They're going to inspect. Maybe there's going to be some training on the equipment. And then you're going to invoice like for the whole thing. So this is good for quick cash flow, quick work, and it's small business set aside. So you could just call around audio video companies. They love doing this sort of work. This is going to be in Offutt Air Force Base, Nebraska. And you're going to basically find subs in that area to do this work, have them go to site visit. They're giving you the number of rooms here. We can keep moving on. 2F2, F3, F11, F14, and 22F. So 5 rooms. That's actually pretty good. They did do an amendment last week, which looks like it pushed the date back. And it looks like they changed the NAICS code as well. So for attachments, we have statement of work, drawing, solicitation doc, technical document, and then the amendment itself. Did I close everything out? Looks good. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and dive into the solicitation, and then we'll bounce back to the chat. I see you guys got some stuff that you're posting, which is excellent. So we'll get back to that in a second. So for the solicitation, we have a pricing table. Just two, very easy, 2 CLINs. One is going to be for the equipment itself, it looks like, the purchase of the equipment. And the second is going to be for the install. We have our delivery information, which will be more about the, who the actual core could be. They're talking about just Jeffrey knows, as well as the location. They're telling us 120 calendar days from the date of award to do this whole job. My guess is it wouldn't take nearly that much, maybe a couple weeks. This document's only 22 pages, so it's not a long solicitation. But they're telling us what you need to be compliant and competitive in your offer. So super important stuff here. Price quote, technical approach, and then fill in the clauses and provisions. To assure timely and equitable evaluation, the offer must follow the instructions. We know that. Small business set aside with this next code. Number 1, price quotes. The offer is required to submit 1 copy of the completed solicitation. So this document itself. Fill out the solicitation completely along with signing it. This is going to include filling out both of those CLINs that we just walked through. What is a CLIN? I get this question a lot. Contract line item number. It's like a pricing breakdown. And we just went through it, so it's not hard. It's CLIN 1, 0001 is the equipment. CLIN 002 is like the labor, the install. They want it broken out for those 2 different line item numbers. So if you're getting a quote from a sub also, guys, whenever you're dealing with subs, you're getting quotes. You're doing, legal middlemaning. You need to make sure they're pricing the way the government wants them to price. Subs don't know they're not educated on how to work for the government. They're just going to give you a number. Then you're going to have to try to figure this stuff out. No, you set the precedent up front, the precedent and the expectation. You give us what the government needs from us. That way we're all on the same sheet of music and we're quoting this thing in accordance with not only the way the government wants it, but with the statement of work. You don't want to miss scope or anything like that. So they are saying you shall consider, so if you are on this GSA schedule, you could probably bid on this as well. But guess what, guys? If you're not on the GSA schedule, this is on SAM, which is why you don't need to go out and spend 20 to 25K and spend 9 to 18 months to create a pricing catalog and have your accounting system audited and to jump through all these hoops just so you can bid on this when they're going to turn around and put it on SAM for free. Okay. Don't get me started on the shiny object syndrome that so many fall prey to because there's so many sharks out there that just want to take your money. Come to SAM. It's free. And yes, you're not going to be able to go after everything that's on GSA, but you will be able to go after some of the things that are on GSA because they multi-post it. And you're going to go after everything else that's on SAM for free in addition to that. And there's no shortage. There's tens of thousands of contracts on SAM every single day. Anyways, let's reel it back in. So that's our pricing, technical approach, no more than 10 pages. You're probably going to have to demonstrate that you meet technical specs and drawings in that. They want you to demonstrate the equipment that you're using is going to meet these things so you can support the nipper and sipper VTC system that is existing, which means you're probably going to need some of their inside information, right? So hopefully they give that to us. Number 2, you have to feed multiple displays and sources, obviously. And then it's got to be multifaceted. So, all VTC systems, they're going to be tied into the lighting, the blinds, the sound systems. It's not just going to be the TVs. These are like whole room control systems. That's why you need to work with a sub who does this for a living, not just an IT guy who can install stuff. Like this is a whole experience. This is a whole system. So that was really probably like the meat and potatoes of what they're going to give us for a winning bid, how the winning bidder will be chosen. We didn't find the evaluation. Let's see here. Here it is. Government will award, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, most advantageous, so they're probably going best value. Actually not. The award will be made to the lowest price, technically acceptable. Okay, so it's important you read this. So it will be lowest price, but you have to be found to be technically acceptable first. Putting those two together, the government's going to determine that is what's most advantageous. So they're going to be weeding you out. Before they look at your price, they're going to look at your technical acceptability, which is going to be compliance with the drawings, the salient features of the equipment, and everything that they want. So here they're telling us very specifically, they want you to no more than 10 pages, submit a plan to include the list of the equipment, describe your approach to meet the system needs, and also demonstrate how the equipment is going to support their existing nipper-sipper system. And again, it's going to feed multiple displays with the lighting interface, blinds, sound system, yada, yada, yada. So if you're going to work with a sub, you need a sub to write to that because you're probably not going to know how to do that. Or if this is what you do, then you're going to do it. Or if you have somebody like on your team, key personnel, PM, who does this, they could write to it, but then they're also going to at least have a conversation with the sub about their approach, and then they're going to, kind of narrate and dictate that into a no more than 10-page proposal response. So the government wants your technical. That's what it's going to look like. It's going to be that technical plan. They want your pricing. It is going to be lowest price. Okay, so pricing is super important, but they need to make sure that you're putting in a system that's going to work. They don't want you to install something that's not going to speak to the existing system. And again, the pricing is not hard. It's very straightforward. Okay, so we spent a lot of time on this one. They gave us some drawings. So for anybody who's super serious about this one, okay, here you go. This is what your sub's going to need to see. So they gave us that. Here's a statement of work. It's probably going to spell out more of the equipment and the systems, okay? So specs are here. They did do an amendment, which is going to be to, I believe they said, extend the due date. So this is interesting because they're saying GSA 2 JIT is a mandatory source requirement for this, but then they're posting it on SAM. So that makes me scratch my head just a little bit. Okay, so before you invest time on this, I would email contracting and say, hey, you're putting this on SAM. Okay, Hannah, this is posted on SAM. Do you have to be a GSA schedule holder to respond to this? Because that's what we talked about earlier. Or this is posted on SAM. Can I respond to this via SAM? Because if they're posting it on SAM, it appears to be open market. So we need to get that clarification now since they're putting this amendment in here. Shouldn't even be on SAM. It should not be on SAM if you can only be a GSA schedule holder and go after this. So we're not sure that's how you want to handle this. And if they say, yeah, then you don't invest any time, you move on to the next one. So yeah, I think on that note, I think that's enough for this one. Go ahead and check in with everybody on the live portion of this. And then we'll move on to bid number 3 for today. Gary says, what can you tell me about 561311? When you recruit employees, do you manage them or is it just like normal recruitment? I'm an executive recruiter. Been watching your videos recently. Well, I can't tell you much about 561311. I would need a more specific question. When you recruit employees, do you manage them or is it just like normal recruitment? I don't know what is the difference between those with you. This isn't about recruiting. This is about staffing. Okay. Recruiting is necessary to staff. When you staff the employees, yes, you have to manage them because you need to make sure they're doing their job and they're doing a good job. Right. And then you also have to make sure that the government customer is happy as well. So your goal is not about staffing, but it's to find contracts that maybe are staffing contracts, right? Like the first one that we looked at, that was IT staffing for 2 people, a supervisor or more of an admin. Okay, find the people, get the resumes, submit those. If you win, okay, then you're going to have to close them as a recruiter. Then you're going to have to onboard them and essentially manage them as they're performing on the contract. So Gary, from a high level, that's what I would have to say. Ace, thanks for answering that, Derek. 100%. Thanks for the question. Charlie, I want a sublease office space. Can you speak on that briefly? Charlie, or I don't know what I'm saying, Charlie. Charlie. So here's the thing. And I go into a lot of this in my masterclass on my website, GovKidMethod.com. If you haven't been into it yet, you don't want to take the approach of saying, I want to do this, and then bring it to federal contracting and bring that to SAM and try to find it. Like, it's good to have an idea, but most people fail who do that because then they're saying, well, I can't find what I'm looking for. Problem is, you don't know your customers. So I always say you have to spend an uncomfortable amount of time on SAM first to learn what they are buying, okay? Because you're here to help them. They're not here to help you, okay? They're not going to line up to give you contracts, say, hey, you want a sublease office space, or this is for everybody. Whatever it is that you think you want to do, no one's going to line up for contracts. You have to be the one who lines up and work backwards from your customer, and your customer is giving you a list of what they need on SAM. So you have to spend an uncomfortable amount of time on there at first, reading through these. And then you will find, Charlie, that there's not a lot of subleasing opportunities on there. You would find that out for yourself, but I can tell you that's not the way to go. Not going to work, okay? Subleasing on SAM, not going to work. Federal contracting, not going to work. You need to find out what is going to work, okay? So you need to go through and look through the different real estate or broker type NAICS codes and see, well, what is the government buying as it relates to either real estate or commercial buildings and leases, and then see if that's going to be something that works for you and see if that's a need that you can fulfill, not the other way around. And that's for everybody, because I see that a lot. Gary, you seem very knowledgeable and experienced in the space, about 10 years in the space. Just recently submitted from your unique entity ID number, waiting to hear back. Thanks for sharing information consistently. Yeah, 100%, man. Appreciate you hanging out and asking your questions. Hopefully we can get you on the track that's going to make sense for you to move forward in the staffing space. Kathy says, I went to your website, planned to get your help for capability statements, overall just learning better ways. Glad that we're able to assist you. We're actually moving away from CAPE statements and everything because my goal is to not give you what you want. My goal is to give you what you need. And again, this is for everybody, even on the replay. And I think a lot of people get the wrong idea with things like CAPE statements or even proposal templates. They don't know how to use them properly. So we're moving away from that to more of a model where it's built into our coaching so that not only do you get those, but you also get them within a system that you're going to actually be able to use them. It doesn't make me feel very good for people like buying things and then they're not using them the way that they're supposed to, or they're taking them and like reselling them. A lot of people have been ripping me off. So that's another reason why we're moving away from that. So if you go on my website today, it's gone. So I've already pivoted from that. And that was a change that we made kind of just honestly over the weekend. I found out a lot of people were kind of reselling my products. I didn't want to go into the thing of like suing people. I don't have the time and the focus to do that. So instead, the only way you're going to get access to those is if you're working with me in our coaching program, which, is a lot more of an investment, is only for people who are serious, but you're going to get everything that you need to be successful. That's the other side to that. Do you recommend to stay local? No, I don't. Not if you're going to be in federal contracting. If you want to stay local, only do local. Do city, state, and county work because it's a whole different ballgame. Federal contracting is what SAM.gov is. You should be prepared to be doing work, if not all over the country in the form of like working with subs, middle manning, or staffing. But if you're more like project-based or, even like construction where you can't manage projects all over the country just yet, Then you want to pick a couple states, like a territory that you want to kind of attack. And then, either stay there or build out from there if you want. Again, depending on what industry you're in. There's not going to be enough work for you if you want to quote unquote stay local in federal contracts. You're going to have a hard time finding local contracts. Lamont, hey Derek, will you ever show us a leasing solicitation? Probably not, to be honest with you. It's just not really representative of what SAM.gov is. The solicitations or the leases are very, very different. It's a lot of, they're usually very long, which I'm fine with, but it's a lot of lease language that only a broker would understand, or somebody who specializes in leases would understand. And it's everything else that we focus on services, including construction or staffing or IT or, grounds maintenance or landscaping or all these other things. It's all the same. But leasing is just one of those weird things. It's like its own little world. And there are some commonalities, but I've learned over time that it is quite different. It's not really indicative of what I'm trying to help with. Have you seen any contracts where you're filling tickets for apparel or condiments or electrical parts? What's up, building character and future healing? Those are very different things. Apparel, condiments, and electrical parts. So I'm thinking like t-shirts, mustard, and electrical switches, right? It's kind of all over the board. There are contracts for those. I would probably guess that you would want to be a little bit more focused than that. Again, you want to work backwards from if you're saying, are there any contracts? You probably haven't gotten to the point. You're probably newer. You haven't done the research yet. So I'd recommend you do the research and you tell me. You spend the uncomfortable amount of time on SAM that I have done very much myself many times over, and I have my clients doing. I recommend that you do that homework, and then you come back and you tell me, are you finding contracts for mustard? Are you finding contracts for t-shirts? Are you finding contracts for electrical switches, for example? Okay, you're going to find this answer out for yourself, and it's going to get you to the next step, the next level, because you're going to say, I'm not finding that, but I'm finding this. Then your system's going to be more dialed in. Then you start to create something called a prospecting system, right? And we go in and how to do that in my free masterclass on GovKidMethod.com. How to develop actually like 4 systems. Okay. So you're just kind of approaching your very first system. So that's what you would do up front. We're under a woman-owned small business. We have our cage code, been doing this a year, but have not had a contract yet. I thought you may be able to help. Yeah, 100%. I would ask, how many bids have you gone after? How many bids have you submitted? And based on that, we can either back up and say, how many bids are you finding that are a close match? Because if you're saying I only did it 2 or 3 over a year-long period, you need to get those numbers up, okay? To get your numbers up, you need to find more. In some cases, you need to open up your umbrella, open up your offering so that you can go after more. Then if you're telling me, Derek, we did 10 or 20 bids on SAM over the course of a year, we didn't win anything, then we look at the other side of the equation of how are your debriefs going? Do you know what a debrief is? Are you doing them? What type of feedback in terms of pricing and proposal is contract giving you? And are you listening to that feedback? Because you should be increasing your win ratios over time through enhancing your approach. So it's either the first part of the formula, the before or the after. If you're telling me you're not winning. Charlie says, I found contracts on SAM. They want to lease office spaces. I want to make sure I do it right. 100%. Yeah, there is contracts for leasing office spaces. Some of them may fit into, like I said, what we do here on the channel, at which point in time, what we teach is applicable. Other times, if you're finding stuff where it's like it's its own animal, it's its own language, then you may also come into what I was referring to. 2 questions. If I had a consultant firm register with SAM, would I be able to send a proposal to the audiovisual solicitation? And then number 2, do you know why SAM is taking so long to get your UEI? SAM's taking long for everything. So that's the answer for number 2. You're not alone. Follow up with them. Okay. But your first question, if I had a consultant firm that's registered with SAM, would I be able to send a proposal? Yes, you would. I don't care what type of firm you have, all right? You have to put the NAICS code in your profile. That's what you do. So you have a business, you have an LLC, whatever it is, an S Corp, C Corp, sole proprietorship, whatever tax status works for your business. Okay, that's got to be registered first. You have to have a real business. It's got to be real. Then you register that in SAM. You get your cage code, you get your UIE. Okay, done. Next. After that, you're going to figure out, this is why you got to spend an uncomfortable amount of time on SAM, the type of work you want to go after, because then you're going to reflect those NAICS codes and PSC codes in your SAM.gov profile, right? And that's fluid. It changes. You can edit, add, delete these things. You're going to learn. You're going to evolve over time. So you can evolve your SAM profile over time. But you got to get started somewhere. And what better place from spending the next week or two dropping 10, 20, 30, 40 hours on SAM, being super clear what you want to go after, and then learn just how to go after it. Then once you learn how to go after it, then you scale and you play the numbers game. What else is there to do? Then you get better. You do the debriefs. You get 1% better with every submission, or 5 or 10% better with every submission. That's how you build a long-term government contracting business. So yes, you can do that if you have a consultant firm. My point is, I don't care what type of firm you have. It's probably going to change anyways. Kathy, is there an area on your site to find out the cost of getting help to refine our capability statements? Yeah, kind of again, Kathy, we're not offering that anymore. But if you wanted to be a coaching client, we would be able to help you with that. But just know, capability statements are not going to win you a contract. I see people struggling for weeks and months trying to do a perfect CAPE statement. In that time, you could have learned how to bid and submitted 2 offers and maybe win 1. You see the difference? You see like where our focus is? So I would just encourage you, Kathy, to kind of move on right now from the CAPE statement thing. If it's making that much of a frustration and a struggle for you, and move on to like start bidding. Have I heard of a prime? Yes. Everybody who's registered in SAM.gov is a prime. Can you talk a little bit more about your training program? Would love to join. I just uploaded a brand new video this morning, 15-minute video. If you go to GovKidMethod.com, does a full workup of what the program is. You just, I have FAQs in there. It's the latest and greatest on everything on the program. Literally just posted it before today's live. So I highly encourage you just go check that out. You can't miss it. It's on the homepage. It's the first thing that shows up on my website. And one more here, and then we'll go back to our third solicitation. And guys, if you're liking this, getting the free value, you're finding a value, smash the like button and subscribe to the channel. We got a lot of engagement and questions today. Hopefully that it is helping you to move forward. That's what I'm here for. So thank you for asking. Excuse me. Thank you for asking. Everything is okay so far. Recently won 2 contracts in logistics. Awesome, Ali. Glad to hear it, man. Each of them are 3 years. Heck yes. And still digging SAM. Dude, I'm so happy to hear that for you. I'm so happy to hear that. You won 2. Awesome. And yeah, like I said, Ali, if you want to get tied into our program, you're grandfathered in, man. Would love to have you in the program and be able to connect with you. We're doing coaching calls twice a week now. So, dude, I love hearing that. Okay, so we're going to go on to our next bid, and then I'll come back and pick up where we left off with the chat if you just posted something. So number 3 is janitorial. Due September 21st, so you got about 10 days or so. Small business set aside, janitorial NAICS code out of Cedar City, Utah. We have 2 documents. We have the solicitation and we have the solicitation. Not sure what's up with the naming of these. Maybe there's an amendment. We don't have anything in the listing description, so we'll just go ahead and dive in and see. I guess we'll start with this one first. So this is 5 pages. So we won't be spending too much time here. This is USDA. Yeah, this is USDA Forest Services. I left that out. So this is for the Forest Service, again, in Utah. This is to provide janitorial services, government-owned buildings. Work is going to begin November 1st. There's lots of janitorial companies out there, cleaning custodial companies, guys, that you could sub with on this. If you're not self-performing yourself, you could work with a sub. This is a base +4, so this is pretty sweet. Starts November 1st. For anything janitorial, you definitely want to do site visits though. This is going to be the lowest price, technically acceptable. So you're going to be pass fail. So it's going to be acceptable or not acceptable. What they are asking for though, is factor 1, factor 2, and price. Factor 1 is your technical capability, which is going to include in your proposal experience performing janitorial services. You can use your subs, what equipment you're going to use, and then your approach to completing the work. This really shouldn't be that hard. Meaning this is not very technical. Janitorial is not very technical. You should be able to write to this. And then pass performance, it's going to be pass fail. And guys, don't forget, if you don't have pass performance, I mean, if you're working with a sub, you can use their pass performance anyways, but you should be getting what's called a neutral rating per the federal acquisition regulations. Not sure if sometimes they'll state that in here. I'm not seeing it though. But recency and relevancy. If they're looking for 2 references. And guys, my goal is for you, I know I've been doing it for a while, but to you to get to some level of fluency with this. I don't look at any of these ahead of time. Okay, so I'm reading these for the first time with you. You see how I'm able to make sense of these quickly and like kind of tell a story and build a picture, assemble a puzzle. Everyone's different. Some are easier than others. But my goal for you through watching these trainings is for you to practice this, for you to do this. And because these things oftentimes, like they're hundreds of pages. This is why it's an Easter egg hunt. It's not a page by page, line by line. We look for specific things. So that's about it for this. It appears. Okay, no. Last bit on this document. Complete the SF-1449 form, which we haven't gotten in this document, so we'll check out the second document. Technical responses, we just went through. Reps inserts. And that's about it. So let's see what they put in this other document, because we are missing a few things. So here's the big one. Here's the solicitation document, 82 pages. Same info stuff here. Here's the SF-1449 form that you need to fill out. Probably going to find some pricing claims at some point. Here's the scope of work, which is going to be the details of what needs to be cleaned. Hopefully they're going to give us some sort of like frequency. They're giving us restroom, right? Base office. Let's see. And we already know this is base +4, so it's a nice contract. Starts in November. You guys, you have to figure out which of these you want to go after. I mean, you at some point you got to be responsible. Like, what is your business? What are you going after? You make the ultimate decision based on what you're finding on SAM. That's a fit for what you can do and what you're comfortable with and what you can price. Then you move forward. We have our QUASP. We have a wage termination. Okay. Okay, so this is how they're going to this is your report card of how they're going to grade your cleaning service. We are seeing every 6 months for the windows, but I'm curious what frequency it is for everything else. Is it once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week? It hasn't jumped out and bit me just yet, but it might not. They also wanted you to fill this sheet out. This is for if you're going to be using a sub. This is kind of like your PPQ. So this is how you're going to submit those 2 past performances. So this is all going to be part of your technical. When it comes to custodial and cleaning contracts, they want you to go bio-based. So they want to see like what your alternates you're going to be using or what your sub's going to be using. We have a map, multiple maps, reps inserts. The verdict is still out on the frequency, but I think we're pretty clear on everything else at this point. But I didn't see pricing cleanse. So we already know this is the evaluation. That's probably the big elephant. Did I miss it? I guess. I mean, you could always fill it out here on the SF 1449 form, but it's just like one. And they're at least going to have to break it up by year. So that is worth a Control F. Especially since it's lowest price. But yeah, I'm not seeing it. I would have to ask contracting. This would be worthy of a question for Thomas J. Wenner. Like, is there a pricing schedule of services, Excel sheet, something? Otherwise, they're going to be getting prices that are not apples to apples, and that are going to be broken out in such ways that are not going to be comparable to other bidders, because everybody's going to like present it in a different way. So yeah, they haven't included it. Very strange. We need some sort of guidance in pricing in order to move forward on this. Other than that, they're pretty clear about the technical piece and the past performance piece. So it's really the price on this. All right, so let's keep it moving. We'll conclude that one. I'll check the chat and then we'll finish up. We got one more to get through. We'll see if we can get through it quickly. Lamont, whenever I ask for a debrief, they only give me the award amount, even when I ask for more info. So Lamont, if you're asking for a debrief on an RFQ or something that was price-based only or primarily, they are just going to give you kind of like pricing feedback. Proposal debriefs are more appropriate when there's more of a proposal response. So I don't know if that's the case for you or not, where they're asking for a technical breakdown, resumes, quality control plans, staffing plans, technical approaches. All these could be part of a technical proposal, in addition to like past performance. So we'll see that more in RFPs versus RFQs. So if they're only giving you price feedback, I would be curious if it's mostly like price bids that you're going after. Yes. Okay, Kathy, 100%. Yeah, gotcha. That was before the CAPE statement comment. Ali, guys, just believe me, I've been watching so many coaches on YouTube. Derek is the best. You won't be disappointed if you purchase his program. Very helpful and a lot of information. Hey, appreciate that, man. Definitely appreciate that, Ali. And how do you approach subs that are not local? For example, do you tell them you have a GovCon? Probably not, right? So you don't want to approach subs that are not local, right? You want to approach subs that are local to that area so that it's a 10, 15, 20-minute drive for them to do a site visit, or if you win the work, for them to go and perform. You don't want to like getting a sub in Michigan if you're going to do work in Alabama. And I know you already know that. So you want to get subs, but that are local. Like they have to be local. That's the only way that makes sense. And then you educate them once you've identified those. And again, you never want to just do like one quote. You want to get like 3, like if you're on Angie's list or whatever, you're going to have somebody come out and like paint your house or put a fence up or build a patio for you. You don't base it off of one price. So you wouldn't do that with subs in your government contracting business either. So you got to get 3 prices. Okay. That's industry standard. They should be local to the work. When you're speaking with them, you need to ask them, okay, have you ever did government work? No? Okay, well, let me educate you, okay? The government has a certain way that they want things done. This is going to be on a government facility. You're going to have to get base access. So these people can't have like backgrounds because the government's going to do background checks. All that sort of stuff you educate your sub on. If they're good with that, then you move forward. If they're not, at least you found out now before you enter into some sort of agreement with them. It's kind of like high level sub stuff. For sure, for sure. And Angelica says, liked. Awesome. Thank you so much. And then our last bid for today, guys, these hours, they go so fast, but you asking the questions makes it a lot of fun and hopefully helps a lot of other people as well. So this is for Courier Services out of Colorado. This is the VA due September 19th. So this is due in a week. This is SDVOSB set aside. Okay. So you have to be SDVOSB to even bid on this. They're giving us some pricing cleanse here, which looks like it's going to be a base plus 3, maybe. And this is a lot. It's pretty messy when you see this, guys. When they do when contracting does a total copy and paste job in here, like no way, right? They're just taking it out of an attachment usually. So just go straight to the attachment if that's the case. It'll be a better use of your time. So this is 19 pages. We're probably going to find the same copy and paste, but in a format that is much more understandable. So here's the pricing table for this courier service. Going to be some sort of, transport, maybe mail. Base plus 3 years, like we said. So 4 years total. Break it out by day and then total days. So 250 days per year. And then the grand total, your TEV, your total evaluated value or price will be down here. So we do have statement of work. It's going to be pickup for medical equipment. Regularly scheduled pickup for sterile and non-sterile reusable medical equipment. Not sure what type of equipment. Like, is this big, heavy stuff? I don't think so. Could be more like utensils, things like that, maybe. Would also qualify as equipment. So you're going to be bouncing between these different VA MCs, these different VA medical centers in Colorado. They're giving you some stuff. Yeah, that's not what I thought it was. A lot of the transportation, like nitty-gritty specifics and details that if you're interested in going after this, you would have to absolutely read. They're talking about different containers, stickers for those, humidity levels, contamination levels. That's what they're meaning by courier service. You never know what you're going to be transporting. For the bid itself, they're going to want a technical proposal. Basically, means and methods of how you're going to do this. Okay, don't just repeat what you're going to do, which is the statement of work. Repeat back how you're going to do it. Past performance. How many? No more than 3 references. So up to 3 references for recent that are recent and relevant. Factor 3, show your SDVOSB status. Okay, again, you have to have that set aside to even go after this. And then the price will be completed in the pricing schedule that we just looked at. Then you're going to complete your reps and certs. You would, any stuff like this where they're wanting you to sign, you have to print, sign, and date that as well, even if you have a SF 1449 form, which in this case we do not, so it will serve as that. What else did we have? We had a QUASP, and then they're giving you some info on the routes. So this is just a good FYI, like your to and froms, the times. Okay, so good stuff, and informative if you're going to be bidding on this. All right, so pretty straightforward. Not a whole lot to go into that one. And in the interest of time, we will conclude that bid here as well. Go ahead and close some of this stuff out. And guys, as you could guess, there is so much more to learn about bidding and winning on SAM. What we do on these lives is really just a drop in the bucket. It's just a drop in the ocean. If you are somebody who's trying to bid on SAM, or this is going to be in your near future. If you're coachable, you value the power of using systems in your business instead of gut reactions and emotionality. And you want to build something that's scalable, and you want a step-by-step proven process. And you see what I'm doing here, and you want the added safety net of having me look at your bid, look at your proposal before you send it off. High value things. Consider applying to the coaching program that was referenced earlier throughout the session. We're very selective, especially this day and age. We're very selective at who we decide to invite in. But if you are invited in, clients who join, they're responding to their first bids the first month that they join. Never having responded to a solicitation before, they are compliant and competitive. And then some go on to even win those in the next month. And then many more win in those months to follow as they learn how to play the numbers game. And they're not just bidding compliant and competitively, but they're, like I said, they're submitting a number of bids that's going to get them a lot more opportunities coming their way. And that's what we're seeing every month. And it's just really, really cool thing to be a part of. So if you sound like that's tailor-made for something that you're looking for, I do invite you to apply. Just go to my website, GovKidMethod.com. Like I said, I just created a new video this morning, giving you a lot of information on the program. If this is something you're serious about, you're not just like 50-50 on the fence, you know that you're trying to do this, I would highly encourage you to apply to that as well. So if you guys like this video, smash that like button. If you're new here, you're just checking this out, maybe you're new to the community, welcome. Consider subscribing so that you can ask questions like today on future lives as well. We do go live multiple times each week. And I think we'll go ahead and call it, guys. So great session today, great questions. Hope we've added some value to you, provided some value to you, and we will see you in the next one. Thanks for hanging out and take care.